All right, good evening and welcome, Pine Island students and parents, to a very different and abnormal orientation night. I want to thank you for taking the time to join us and jump on this YouTube live link. Just a side note, if you have to step out or miss it, once we're done, this link will stay live and you can go back and watch the recording at any point in time. You also, with the link that you received in the email, should have a link to a question document. So if you have any questions that come up, I'm going to take some time at the end to do the best I can to answer those questions. So if you have one, open the link to that Google form, type in your question, and we'll get to it at the end. So I want to take an opportunity. Again, we have not only the new freshmen, which is normally who we have coming in for a presentation, but also asked our 10 through 12 families to join us because obviously we're in a very unique situation. We're in a year that we are starting in a very different way, and we want to help everybody be prepared for the first day of school, which is now less than a week away. And we also know how important getting back to school is for our families. It's important for not only the learning that we obviously focus on, but the social interaction and just getting back to the mental health and all those different things that we play a big part in with our students' lives. And I want to thank many parents that I've talked with and the support that you've had. And just know that we're going to continue to work. I'm going to share our plan where we're at today. Please know if this was planned version, there's going to be many numbers to that because we continue to grow, and there's going to be changes as we go throughout the year. So I want to get you as up to date as we can so we can get going on start of school for next week. All right. So getting into it, the first thing I want to share is our mission and vision. I find it interesting that the first thing we talked about is providing a safe environment. Obviously, been topic number one with COVID-19 going on, as well as under our vision, the first word is innovative. And if we've been doing anything, it's being innovative with where we're at this school year and how we're preparing. So it's interesting how those statements have been developed for years really fit into where we're at this year right now. Right now, we have planning to start our school year in our hybrid plan. So a little bit about what that hybrid plan is, and this follows MDH and CDC guidelines, but 50% capacity. And you've heard about maybe the A and B day schedule. We'll talk a little bit about that here as we go through the plan. Really doing everything we can whenever possible to practice social distancing, really controlling our traffic flow in the halls when we are moving around, and the requirement of face coverings. And that's the next thing I want to talk a little bit about. I know that's something many people have had questions with. And, I'll be honest, it's one of those things that, a lot of times you come to school and you hear about, here's the rules that the school has. I want to be clear with this one. This is a government mandate. This comes from the governor of Minnesota. This isn't your Pine Island school board said you need to do this. This isn't your teachers. This is a mandate that we are required to follow. So, and I say that with all respect to anybody's political, religious, or any other beliefs that they have. The simple reality is it is required to be in this school. And so we need everybody's cooperation to do it and to do it properly. All right. Here, before we get to the math, just talk a little bit about the CDC and the request for families to screen daily at home. I think I got a little off here. But just before we even get to coming into school, CDC has asked that we are practicing home screening. So you may be familiar with at times some businesses or organizations were screening as you entered. And if we would have started this back in July, that would have been our expectation requirement. As things have changed, we continue to do so as well. And so this screening is asked to be done at home by parents. Things like a temp higher than 100.4, sore throat, uncontrolled cough, trouble breathing, diarrhea, vomiting, or abdominal pain, new onset of severe headache, particularly with fever. So what if we're sick? What do we do? Sometimes you might have come to school with some of those symptoms. I'll be honest, I know I've gone to work plenty of times with some of those things. The best advice I can tell you is be in contact with us. Our nurses have worked tirelessly to have guidelines and plans. Contact us. And we also know, as I stated already, things are continuously changing and developing. You might have one expectation this week. We know that the Department of Health has talked about some of their expectations changing before the end of this week as well. So we're continually monitoring that, and we will adjust as we go. So the best thing you can do is be in communication with us, and we'll do everything we can to help. Our goal is to have students in school whenever possible. Hybrid plan math. As I said, this is an executive order and something we have to do. Most importantly, it's got to cover the nose and the mouth properly. We can't put the mask on and have it wearing below our nose. It can't be up here. It needs to be covered, by the way. This is a mask that all students will actually be receiving when they start school next week. But please have your own mask with you. Again, the language right from the order that's acceptable: paper, disposable face mask, cloth, scarf, bandana, neck gaiters, or religious face covering. And again, we follow exactly from the executive order. There are some times in the day where face coverings will be or may be removed. They're pretty few and far between. One being exercising in a physical exertion situation, so that might be in a gym class. And again, that doesn't mean you walk in the gym class and you take it off. Your teacher will be in communication of, hey, this might be a time we're doing it. We're running, we're spaced out, and we'll do everything we can to keep those situations safe. Band, music, choir. If you're in those situations, again, those departments have pretty clear expectations and procedures that they will have for you. So it's not going to be a matter of just walking in and taking your mask off, but there will be times where you remove it in order to do those. Again, very socially distanced when we're doing it. And eating. Obviously, a time when you'll need to take that off, but again, it'll be coming off to eat, and then once you're done eating, going back. We'll be pretty clear with those expectations as we get. Again, another question that's come up about face coverings is face shields. Face shields are only allowable in a very select few situations here at school. One of those being if you have a developmental or behavioral or medical reasoning, and that would be something we would have communication and approval for. Teachers may, on rare occasions, when it impedes it, but again, they're going to take extra precautions when they're doing it. Maybe we're working with a student who really needs to see the verbal interaction. Maybe it's a language class. Maybe it's a student with special needs, whatever that situation might be. Being able to use a face shield in that situation might be crucial, but we'll also take other steps to keep everybody safe. But it is not an option for students to just choose. Cleaning. I believe I saw a couple questions already, and I know I've had those conversations with several folks about how we do that. Please know the first thing first, our maintenance staff has been working tirelessly to improve and get better at their processes. You see them around the building frequently, sanitizing commonly used areas, keeping things clean, and they've done a great job with it. We will have a process in place for cleaning desks in between. It's going to involve some spray bottles. We're going back and forth between a couple different options as far as what that exact chemical or solution is that'll be used, because we want to make sure it's safe and effective for our students and our staff. We will have hand sanitizer readily available, and we will be using it frequently, particularly if we're coming in and using different materials in the classroom. And we'll also be encouraging an increased use in hand wash whenever possible. All right, block schedule. So to talk a little bit more about the plan that we have, and hopefully everybody can hear me here all right. This is the schedule that we've laid out. We tried to put it in emails, but I just want to take the opportunity to talk about it a little bit more. We switched from an 8-period day to a block schedule for a number of reasons. One of them, to have fewer transitions, fewer times that our students are going back and forth. Another one, and it really comes down to something we learned last spring and we're reminded of for anybody who's taken online courses. Very rarely, if you're taking online courses, are you taking 7 or 8 at a time. And it just becomes a challenging management piece for our students. So knowing that we need to be flexible, we changed to a block schedule. But we also had our schedule created. Students have been a part of the registration process, staff have been a part of setting the schedule. And knowing that would be difficult in the summer to get everybody back in to do that, we changed our 8-period day into a block schedule. So we took hours 1, 3, 5, and 7, and those will be our 4 blocks for first quarter. Hours 2, 4, 6, and 8 will be our blocks for second quarter. So if you're going into your schedule on Tyroids and trying to figure out when you go, as you'll see, if I'm trying to figure out what do I have first block, first quarter, it's going to be my first hour. But my second block, first quarter, is third hour, and so on. So following that schedule, first quarter, you will have your odd hours. First, third, fifth, and seventh. All right? Next, our schedule for the day. Just a few things to think about. Doors will open at 8:30. Students will not be able to get into the building prior to them. So please be aware of that with your transportation plans. Again, this has a lot to do with trying to keep areas clean and sanitized, as well as minimize interaction and traffic flow. Classes will start at 8:45. So it's a fairly short window of time frame. And most importantly, students, when you come in, we're not going to have lockers to use, so we're going to have you go directly to your classroom. Classes then end for the day at 3:15. And we expect all students to be out of the building and closed by 3:30. So again, please make sure that is part of your plan as you go to and from school. All right. Talk a little bit about the A and B schedule. So if you look in your Skyward schedule, you will see if you are an A student or a B day student. That means if you're an A day student, you are in person on A day. If you're a B day student, you are in person on B days. That means the opposite days, you are going to be joining virtually. And your teachers will communicate exactly what that looks like for the students who are A day, B day here in our hybrid model. We'll talk a little bit more about the families that chose Flex later as we go on. Lunch and advisory is in the middle of the day, about a half hour later than normal, starting at 11:30 and going to 12:30. And again, that'll include both lunch and your P25 advisory. Passing time between those blocks. Again, no locker use, and this comes from a county recommendation, so we are not allowed to use those. So we will just have you carry your materials with you. Again, you have at least half, if not fewer, number of students in the classroom, so there should be plenty of space to put backpacks and so forth. We are hoping to work on some procedures as we get closer to winter, but actually have access to lockers if you need for winter coats and things. Again, what we really don't want to see is congregate in the hallways. We'll be very intentional about keeping students moving to where you need to go. Lunch. Students will eat in the classrooms, so we will have you go to your P25. So if you're wondering where you're going to eat lunch to start out with, look on your schedule at your P25 room, and that is where lunch will be. As we get to the first couple days, one of the things we're going to do is work with students to create options, because we do understand you need some social time and to see friends, and so we're going to make sure we have that as part of our plan. So we'll give you that option, select a few friends, and we'll do everything we can to group you, and we'll try to change it frequently so you get to see some different students during the time. And lunch will be served. They're going to be setting up stations in the hallways up in the high school wing, one on the upstairs second floor and one down on the first floor. Honor passes. So many students are probably familiar with the honor passes that we've had in the past. This allowed you the opportunity to be able to step out and go to different areas during lunch. Uh-oh, I'm getting word that I'm not being heard very good. All right, I'll try to speak louder. All right, so honor passes this year, similar criteria. As you can see, I'll step away so you can read it. We're A and B honor roll for last quarter. No unexcused absences. No office referrals. Less than 2 unexcused. Most importantly, this is available for our juniors and our seniors. You have the opportunity to earn an honors lunch pass. What that means is if it's signed and approved by your parents, you have that pass. You can leave during lunch in P25, so that hour time from 11:30 to 12:30, and what that looks like. And this might be a little bit more difficult today, but you'll get this in paper form if you're eligible and you've met those requirements. What are those rules and procedures? I'm going to go through those real quick, and hopefully you can hear me all right. Number one, must show honors pass each day to leave through a designated door, and that's the door with the staff. You must continue to demonstrate excellence in academics, attendance, behavior, and that will be monitored weekly. Students who transport others who do not have honor lunch privileges will lose those, and also may lose their parking privileges as well. Students must eat before returning to school. You can't go pick food up and bring it back for a bunch of folks. Food and beverage will not be allowed back into the building. All right. Students are not allowed to loiter in or around campus. You can't step out and then be somewhere in the halls hanging out. We don't want to have groups hanging out in the parking lot. You need to be leaving campus at that time in that situation. And students must return in time for class. Again, if we start having issues with you getting back late, that'll be a privilege that you'll lose. But we do not want you back sooner than 2 minutes. If you do come back a little early, we're going to have you go back to your P25 because, again, we can't have students wandering in the hallways. And I think one of the most important things, behave in a respectful and courteous manner within the community and drive safe if you are doing that as well. So I think this is a great privilege, and I want to stress the word privilege. We want something that's earned, respected, and treated properly. And if so, it can continue. If not, then it might be something that has to be reviewed. But we want to offer that opportunity, a little more flexibility for our students. It's also an opportunity to get some students out of the building as we are in a time at lunch where people might have coverings off and want to have a little more space. All right, grading and credit. So something I want to make sure that everybody understands. When we talked about fourth quarter, it was very different than any other normal situation for grading and credit. That came from state guidance. That came because we were in an emergency situation, and we really didn't have a choice. But what I need students to understand, especially those that have chosen the flex learning, please understand grading and credits will be different than it was fourth quarter. You need to make sure you're staying on top of things. It will be more accurate. It'll be more rigorous. And you need to make sure you're getting all of your homework and all of your tasks completed. You need to make sure your attendance is checking in every single day. All right. So please understand that we were in a very different situation. It will not be the same to start out this school year. All right. Conferences. Another thing that's different. This is a little boring. Just so you know, I'm in the forum room by myself. Feels a little odd. Normally we're in the auditorium full of people, and we have a commons full of people. We have 7th and 8th graders coming in for orientations. It's really a fun night. But that was also part of our conference plan. And so please understand one of the things that we're going to be doing to help with that, because it's an opportunity to meet teachers and get to know them a little bit and how they plan to do things. To help address that, teachers will be reaching out to many of you. They might do it through phone, might do it through a Zoom meeting, might just shoot you an email, but they're going to be doing that and trying to reach out. But I also want to strongly encourage parents, please feel free to reach out. If you have questions, if you're wondering about a class, if you've never met a teacher and you want to learn about them, send them an email, give us a phone call. We're in for sure the next 2 days all day, getting ready for the year. So contact us. They'd love to hear from you and learn more about you, your family, and your students. Some key tools, and again, I don't think for the most part these are new. All were used other than Zoom last year, but I know Zoom is not a new thing anymore. So Schoology, and just so you know, Schoology is where you find your curriculum. It's where you see the most up-to-date grades. It's where you find out what's coming next. If you ask your student that question, what do you have coming up next in class? You should be able to see it on the calendar in Schoology. If you do not have your login, contact us, let us know. PJ Smith can help you out with that, or contact us in the office. Skyward. Skyward is our student information system. This is really for record keeping. It keeps attendance records. It has your transcripts, those types of long-term records that you would need. Also, I believe is what you would use if you need to put money in lunch accounts and some of those things. So those are the differences. I know even at our house, sometimes the words Schoology and Skyward get mixed around. So just think of school as the one that's got all of your school materials when you think of Schoology. And then Zoom, we made the change to Zoom from using Google Meets or conferences last year. Just gives us a little more control over the situation when we've got students outside. Be prepared. Just something I want to remind everybody. Be prepared. Have your mask with you every single day. I put down water bottle. So one of the other things is our drinking fountains are not available to use to go up and push the button and drink from, but our bottle fillers are on. So I know you get thirsty during the day. Please bring a water bottle. You can slide the straw up underneath your mask or flip it up for a moment to just take a drink of water. Definitely something you're going to want to do. Also, restrooms. Kind of a complete 180 from normal. A lot of times we're saying, take those breaks in between classes. It's a good time to step into the restroom. Now, because we don't want large numbers of students in the restroom at a time, we want you to go to class and ask permission. That way we can send one student at a time from class. Please also understand in the bathroom, that's not a break time to take your mask off. We know the primary spread of COVID-19 is aerosols, and we know bathrooms have a lot of aerosols. So we want you to make sure you keep your mask on in that setting as well. All right, I said I was going to talk a little bit more about the Family Flex option. So the Family Flex option is the title for our families that have chosen to go fully distance learning. I just want to make sure we have some understanding of those expectations. First and foremost, the scheduled day really is synchronous and mirrors our school day. So our expectation is that you are at home getting online from 8:45 to 3:15. And you're going to have your break in there for lunch as well. You need to be responsible. You need to be regularly checking email. And I know that was a struggle for many students last spring. You need to regularly be on Schoology. This isn't any different from conversations I've had with students for years about the potential choice to go online. It is extremely important when you're in an online setting that you are responsible. You need to show up and log in and check in, and we'll take attendance every single day. And you need to be responsible and manage yourself. Parents, be involved with that. My biggest advice to a parent that's working with a student in distant learning, check in regularly. It's easy to get distracted at home. It's easy to get distracted anywhere, but even more so at home. So they're going to need your help to stay focused and stay engaged in getting on. Teachers will share their specific expectations for how that is. You might have classes that you're the whole time joining a virtual session. Other times they might schedule portions of the class, or there might be days where they say, I don't need you to check in live today, but I need you to submit this during this time. Teachers will let you know exactly what that is. All right. First day of school. Again, going to feel quite different. First of all, we'll only have half of you here. So on Monday is an A day. A day students only will come to school on Monday. One of the things I want to stress, though, just to help, because a big part of Monday will be teachers getting you back. Our students have been back in school for 6 months. It's been a long time. So we got a lot to go over, plus we're in a very different setting. So our students are going to focus mostly on the A day students. B day students, you don't have to check in live on Monday, but you need to get on your email and you need to get on your Schoology. You might have some things to read or follow up on so you're prepared for Tuesday. Similarly, on Tuesday, B day students, the teachers are going to be focusing with you in their classroom. All right. If you're an A day student, all we're going to ask you to do on Tuesday is make sure you check your email, check your Schoology, see if there's some things you need to read or go over. If I'm a flex student, I need to be ready to check in online both days. We want to do everything we can to include you and have you be a part of our classrooms. So we need you getting on both days. Get on your Schoology, see if there's a Zoom link to get on, check your email, see what your teachers are communicating with you. All right. Freshmen, normally we would have a late start freshman and we would do Panther Crew activities. We don't get to pile you all in the gym and get excited and have fun, which is unfortunate because to us, it's important to welcome you into our Panther family. We just need to do it a little differently. So we're going to do a virtual welcome. So we'll get you to your first block classes and we'll have some videos and a couple of Zoom live opportunities to ask some questions and go over some things and help you get settled in and be a Panther in the high school. And again, remember your mask. If you come to the door and you don't have it, you're going to need to have one. So we'll send you back to get one. We do have a few for each student, but if you use your extra, if you forgot them up real fast, you're not going to have them in other days if you need them. All right. That is my last piece. If you're a 10, 12 family, you're more than welcome to join us. I'm going to get more into some of the information that I normally cover with our freshman families at this point in time. So if you do want to jump off, feel free. If you want to stay on and you have a question, type it into the document. I'll be pulling those up at the end as well. So again, thanks everybody for joining. If you did as a 10, 12, if you want to hang on, remember some of that freshman information, please do so. All right. I always share to start out with, get involved as much as you can in high school freshmen. The older you get, now you're coming from middle school, we have more and more activities to join. And I threw a list up here. I don't even think it includes everything. And as you get here, you're going to learn about more. The reason I do is the more you can be involved, the more you can be engaged, the more successful you'll be. It's also one of the reasons why we know how important it is that we get as many of you as possible back into school. We know what that does for so many things, from our mental and social well-being to the learning and engagement that we get to be a part of. So although many are maybe delayed, canceled, or done virtually, get involved in as many different things as you can. And I would stress that it's probably even more important now than it ever has been in the past. So please figure out what activities you can be a part of that are here at Pine Island High School and get yourself involved. All right. I talked a little bit about the schedule already, so I'm not going to spend a bunch of time on it. But again, if you're not sure, get on Skyward. Look at your first hour. That's where you know you'll be first block on your first day of school. All right. Get on your Skyward and look at your homeroom. Your homeroom will be listed with either the letter A or the letter B. If you're not sure, email myself or Mrs. Garcia. We'll clarify for you. But A-Day students come on A-Day. That calendar is posted on the district website under calendars. You can download it, print it off, throw it on the fridge, wherever you'd like to have it. That calendar doesn't change all year. You could look till December and see what days are A-Days and what days are B-Days. All right. Communication is key. I talked already about coming in to meet with teachers, and obviously it's a little different this year, so we're doing it virtually. That's just the first step. I know sometimes as a parent, we think that the older our kids get, we got to step back, and we do. In fact, I'm going to talk about some things we can step back with at the end of this. But they need you involved. They need you to be a part of their high school experience. Without it, they will not be as successful. All right, so communicate with us, communicate with your student, and know what's going on. Email is great. You can find teacher emails on our website. Skyward's a good resource. Schoology is excellent. We'll use some Twitter and Facebook stuff to get district information out, so it's a great place to check. And we'll get weekly emails from the office that will come to your email address in Skyward. One of the most important things, and I put Skyward up there, make sure if you have an email address you want to get information at, that you have it entered in Skyward. There's a place for you to enter additional emails if you need to, or to change it if you get a new one. So please make sure that is up to date, as well as address and phone number for any other information we need. All right, Schoology. We talked about it already, so I don't want to spend too much time. But the two things that all teachers are going to use for sure that you can find information on is the grade book and the calendar. The grade book is where we keep grades throughout the quarter. The only time grades get put into Skyward is at the very end when it's a final grade and it goes into the report card and transcript. So if you want to see where they're at, check Schoology. But I want to note with that, be patient. I still want to remind many parents, when we were in school, you might not have found out your grade until conferences. In fact, I still joke with my mom that I didn't know my grades until she would go to conferences. She would come to me and say, hey, Mitch, what grades are you getting? I don't know. You tell me when you come home. And I'd kind of sit a little nervous, thinking I was all right, but you're never 100% sure. It's very different now. And I think that's a good thing. But just remember, it's not something that should be checked multiple times a day. And if it's something that took an assessment today, it might take a little time to get those graded and in the grade book. So we also want to be reasonable with that. Obviously, if it's taken too long, that's another thing. But be patient, but it's a good thing to check and get a temperature for where kids are at. You can often see more than the grade. You can see the assignments and some of the other things they have that they're going to have to take care of. So it's a great resource. Use it. As I put there, and I mentioned earlier, PJ Smith is our tech integration specialist. If you're having troubles getting logged in or working with Schoology, shoot him an email and he will get you set up. All right, our handbook. It's a large document. It's located online. It's something that all students are responsible for. I think I would be foolish to think every student's going to read through it word for word, but it's something you are responsible for the information on. All right. Most importantly, attendance. It's pretty clear what the expectations are. And obviously, we'll look at that a little bit different in this year's situation, but regularly, parents are able to excuse up to 3 days a month. After that, we need to have some pretty clear communication, might require a doctor's note for those. Vacations. I want to let you know that I think family vacations and opportunities to get away as a family are extremely important. And we get that sometimes that has to happen during the school year. I know for me, it's important with my family that we take time to get away. Obviously, with my job, we do it different times of the year, but your family's plan and job might require that happens during the school year. If it gets excessive, that's one thing, but please know you have our support with that. What we ask, most importantly, is that if you do, you communicate with us ahead of time. We have a form in the office that we'll ask the students to take to each teacher so that they can find out what's going to happen while they're gone, and they can be prepared and feel like when they go on vacation, they know what's going on in school, and when they get back, they don't have that stress of trying to catch up. Another thing, it's probably not new, especially if you've been in Pine Island schools now for a while. We've been pretty clear about our ALICE response plan to violent intruders in school. It's how we actively try to keep our students and staff safe if any of those situations come up. Our dress code, I like to think of it as pretty simple as well. If it's not appropriate, we're going to ask you to change. It could be something that's too revealing. It could be something that has inappropriate slogans on it. To be honest, it's not something we deal with often, but if we do, we're going to have a conversation with you. We're going to ask you to change. I usually try to give the guideline of if grandma's going to question it or not think it's appropriate, or you're not sure, then maybe put something else on. All right. And then one of the other things that you'll find in the handbook talks about academic eligibility. So I encourage that activity involvement, whether it's an honor society, whether it's a club like DECA or FFA, or whether it's a sport that like we have cross country and soccer going on right now, you have to be a student in good standing. So make sure you're academically eligible. All right. Pictures. We are still doing pictures this year. We made a switch to Jostens last year. One nice thing is they communicate directly with you. They're not trying to send things through school. You don't have to worry about your son or daughter bringing a packet home. It actually comes directly to you in email, and so you can order that. You can pay online. You don't have to worry about them bringing a check to school, all those kind of things. But they'll communicate that with you. It's September 8th and 9th, so an A and a B day. And we will ask, and we'll have more communication out about our online students because we would definitely like for you to come in and get the picture taken. We'll set up some situations to make that happen in a safe way. All right, phones. We understand that they're important, but we need you to understand also that it's not something you can use at any point in time. All right, phones are allowed at school. They're absolutely allowed before and after, at passing time, at lunchtime, at those free times that you have. But you need to understand in the classroom, it is the teacher's discretion. And parents, I want you to understand, this is a conversation we have frequently with kids, because when we ask them, what are you doing on their phone? I can't tell you how many times they say, well, my mom texted me. If it's an emergency, what we need to ask is that you call the office. If not, what we're going to tell the student is it needs to wait till one of those times or until the teacher says you can use it. And we feel like these are life skills we're teaching. I'll be honest, I felt my phone buzz in my pocket a couple times. I think actually a couple of them reminded me saying that we weren't loud enough in here. But if I was pulling out my phone and checking it during this presentation, that would be a problem. And those are life skills and that we're preparing students for when they're working and down the road, that there's a time and a place to check that. And so, Mom, please understand they might be delaying their response to your text because we said they can't check their phone. So please help us enforce that, support that, teach those good habits. All right. But we also want them to learn how to use it properly. It's a great tool. I know my calendar keeps me on time and it's buzzing in my phone and telling me I got a meeting, and I get reminders, and I can put new events in my calendar so I don't forget. I can check notes. I'm on my email. Those are great skills and life things to learn how to use our phone properly. And we want our students to be able to do that. All right. Just real quick, if you still haven't picked up your laptop or taken care of some of the other forms and fees, they're on the bottom of the homepage. You should be able to see it. If you go to the Pine Island Schools homepage, on the bottom, there's a fees portion to click on. Make sure you take care of those. Most importantly, if you don't have your device yet, and it's because you haven't done that and you're struggling to get it taken care of, please contact us. We want to make sure every student has their device prior to next week when we start. I know many of you were able to come in last week, and we appreciate that. If not, we need you to stop in yet this week during school hours and pick up those devices. So I talked a little bit about how important it is for you to be involved with your high school student. This is where I also want to remind you of some things of what are those things that you can let go of. And I added this last year when I was talking, and I'll be honest, I added it because it was something shared by my high school football coach, who I've respected a lot for the last 25 years. And I've seen the impact that he's had on so many young people. And I think these things are extremely valuable. And I know, talking with parents last year after this, a lot of them said thank you, and as a good reminder. And I find myself as a parent making sure I focus on some of these things as well. The first thing, and it says 8 things to stop doing for or with your teens. First things first is waking them up. They are 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 years old. They should be responsible to wake themselves up. And I can't tell you how many times I've had a student or even a parent call me and say, well, I'm sorry, my son or daughter is late. I, as a parent, or my mom or dad, forgot to wake me up. And I need you to understand that, to me, is not an excused absence, because mom and dad, it's not your responsibility. All right. Whether it's the phone that they use, which I love to get it out of the bedroom at night, or an alarm. And alarm clocks are cheap. If you can't afford one, email me. I'll find you an alarm clock. But students, you need to be responsible to get yourself out of bed in the morning. All right. You are not a middle school student anymore. You are very, very close to being an adult. In 4 years, you will be graduating from high school. You need to be responsible to get yourself out of bed. Next, making their breakfast and packing their lunch. Again, this is something I've seen over and over. I've seen students come into the cafeteria, open up their lunchbox, and express disappointment or surprise about what a parent packed for their lunch. This is something you students are old enough to do on your own. Maybe do it with your parents. That'd be great. But this is a responsibility that they should have. All right? And something that's going to prepare them for the future. Filling out paperwork. And I got to be honest, if you were in person, I feel like this is normally the time I look down and maybe the parents are handing some paperwork over to their son or daughter. But whether it's forms at school, forms at the doctor, anywhere that you are, students need to know how to fill those out. And the sad thing is, when they never fill those out, they don't learn important information. I can't tell you how many times I've talked with students that don't know their address, or don't know mom and dad's phone number, or don't know mom and dad's email, or their place of work, or things they're going to need in the future, like their social security number or other key information. All right. Students, this is a life skill. You got to be able to do it. All right. Parents, you shouldn't have to fill out their paperwork anymore. Do it with them for a while. That's great. But students, you got this. Trust me. All right. This is a big one. Hopefully you can read it on there. Delivering forgotten items. Do not make their emergency your emergency, parents. All right. If they forgot the lunchbox sitting at home, you shouldn't stop your day to bring them their lunch. In fact, if you don't want them to continue to forget it, it's a better learning opportunity not to have that lunch. They can either eat school lunch or wait. All right. But do not make their emergency your emergency. It's a much better learning task. I can tell you right now, if you talk to my son, he's going to tell you, if I forgot something, it's pretty unlikely dad's going to bring it to me. And I think that's just more important. So your emergency shouldn't be theirs, students. Be responsible, and that's how you learn a lesson. It shouldn't be, I forgot my homework, I forgot my basketball shoes, I forgot my lunch, whatever those things are, my phone. Great, leave it home. Somehow I still lived over half of my life so far without a cell phone. So I know you can do it for the day. Making their failure to plan your emergency. And that kind of goes along with the, delivering forgotten items. But if they're not planned and prepared, it's not your job to necessarily swoop in and save the day. It might be your job to support them and give them encouragement. But again, it's not your emergency. All right. So help them. That's how we learn lessons. That's how humans work. When we make mistakes, we learn. I talk about failure and difficulty or feedback. We learn so much more when we fail than when we succeed. It's just making those failures manageable and helping our students get through them. Doing all their laundry. Students, you're old enough. You can do this. Again, in 4 years, you might be out of the house. If you haven't been already doing laundry, you need to start. And maybe it's a slow thing. We want to make sure we do it the right way. Learn, don't ruin mom and dad's washing machine. Don't put stuff in the dryer that they shouldn't, but you should be doing it. And again, this is something I would go back to my own experience at my house. My kids know if I'm the one doing the laundry, they're going to be folding it all because I'm not folding and separating their clothes. They're old enough to do it, and it's theirs. They can handle it. Emailing or calling teachers and coaches. Again, such an important life skill. And I think something, if you want a perfect example of how we've gotten away from that over the years, go to social media. How many times do you see people post something on social media that they should have contacted the person they have the problem with? And instead of solving or improving that problem, it actually makes it worse. We create social issues between friends or make gaps bigger. Communication is so key. Learning this skill to contact that friend, to contact that boss, to contact that teacher or coach is something those students need to have. And again, I'll give you the example. It's happened at my house plenty of times where my son said, "Dad, can you just," no, you're going to type the email. You're going to make the phone call. And afterwards, we can all sit down and say, this is what you learned from it. It's extremely important to learn that skill. Be there with them, coach them through it, help them make sure they cover the right things, make sure that they do it and don't avoid it, because it's easy to avoid it. Sometimes those things are hard to do. It's hard for us to do as adults. But if we don't learn that skill early, we're going to continue to avoid it as we go on. So parents, not that you shouldn't follow up ever, but when it comes to that skill, have your student email the teacher, have your student email their coach or their boss at work or their friend that they're having troubles with, or the neighbor maybe that they should be in contact with about something that happened. Learn that skill. These are all things that are going to help us grow and develop students, and all things, parents, that I think are pretty key, that you now have a high school student. Middle school is over. In 4 years, you're going to be going to work, going to college, going to the military, something along those lines. And this time's going to go fast. And these types of things are really going to help prepare them. And our goal is to help be a part of that, right? And teach you some education along the way as well. All right. I'm almost done. One last thing I always want to make sure we talk about, because you hear about it all the time, and now I feel like, especially in the last 5 or 6 months, it's gone more online than anything else, but bullying and harassment. And yes, we are totally against it, and we want to do everything we can to stop it. But I think the thing that I want to make as clear as possible is we can't do it without you. We can't do it without you students letting us know what's going on. We can't do it without you parents letting us know what's going on. Too many times I've heard it's something about, well, they should have known, or I just didn't get a chance to communicate it, or I was unsure. We can't help if we don't know, and we can't solve it without your help. Students, you have a greater impact on it than we ever will. If you tolerate it from your peers, it'll continue. You have more influence on your peers than we do. You can help us. We do this together because it's something that I feel like at Pine Island we don't tolerate well. Does it ever happen? I don't think there's a place in the world that doesn't happen. But overall, the majority of our students, they don't expect that kind of stuff to happen, and they help take care of each other. So I want you to be a part of that. All right, I am going to have some questions on here. So again, maybe you've typed some in already. I'm going to go away from my screen I was sharing and see if I can find any questions that I might have. First one I have is, should we be getting school supplies that are listed out on the school website? I think the first thing I would do is review those. If you have any questions, contact the teacher that you have. Send them an email. They'll confirm that. I will say those lists were initially put out back in about January, February, as we were planning for a regular school year in an 8-period day. And things have changed. So definitely be in contact, ask that question. We'll have some patience if it's something you couldn't get right away. I also know as I walk through stores, it's interesting how bare shelves are, so you might not be able to get everything you want. Some questions about cleaning. I talked a little bit about the fact that we'll be cleaning those regularly and in between classes. If a student has a health issue, example asthma, would they be able to wear a face shield instead? That's something we need to communicate with. We need a doctor's note. I can tell you our doctors have been pretty hesitant on a lot of those things, but they'll be clear on what that might look like. Lunches are going to be hot. They'll be basically moving serving lines out to the hallways to serve them. If students have a doctor's appointment and it's on a day they're set to be in school, can they join online? Absolutely. We actually had this question about how do you handle that if a student needs to be absent for something? Well, we would ask you to make up what you missed in a regular situation. It might just make making up some of those things easier because you can jump on, maybe see the live feed, catch what's going on Schoology, and hopefully make it a little bit easier in those situations where you have to miss school. There's a question about changing in the middle of a term from maybe distance learning to hybrid or hybrid to distance learning. The expectation is that by the end of this week, we're pretty set. If you have that question, contact me directly. Ultimately, we want to do what's best for kids, but what we can't have is a pretty steady back and forth with students going in and out. Although we know we'll have a little bit of that if we have situations with illness. But if you have a specific situation, please be in contact with us. We'll do what we can to work with you. Oh, sorry, I should have pulled this up earlier. I see my voice was going in and out. I apologize if we had some audio troubles. All right. Any other questions? Oh, let's see. It looks like I have a few more. Sorry, I got to scroll down. Do people from home get lunches? Yes, that's a good question. There will be a program communicated out for families to be able to pick up lunches if you're full distance. So that is an option for our families. Sorry, I see a few more comments now about audio. I should have pulled this up earlier. Do students at home get a face mask? Well, we do have a face mask for every single student. We might just need to communicate how we could have you come in and pick up that face mask. This is a good question. Students are concerned about finding those new classes and where they're located. And that's exactly one of the things we would have been doing tonight. What I can tell you is we'll get you in and directed to your first block class, and having that extra time in blocks, we'll be very intentional about directing you to your next block. And there'll be Panther crew leaders. You'll have a leader that'll reach out to you by email, and they'll be in contact with you as well to help guide you. I know that's one thing we miss out on an open house night like normal tonight, and taking those tours and figuring out where we are. Again, I apologize for the volume piece. When I tested it earlier, it seemed to be working well. I guess I had some issues with that going on. Another question about the desk. We talked about that. We have a couple different solutions that we're working with, and we'll be cleaning those between each class period. Will there be an option for online learning if you have to stay home due to exposure? Yes. So if you are needing to quarantine or be home for exposure, you will be able to then join classes online, and we'll want to do everything we can to keep you up to date. Again, sorry about the volume. Any decision on how requests to be changed A or B will handled? I have a few. I can tell you, didn't get a ton, but one of the keys is making sure if we make some adjustments that it's balanced. And I know I have a couple that I'll be getting back to either tomorrow or Thursday on those requests for A and B day. Let's see, a couple more questions here. Sorry again about the volume. How are they going to do concerts? Well, right now, I'm not so sure what exactly concerts will look like. It's taken a lot to put plans together to get music students to be able to do band and choir and orchestra. So we're looking forward to starting there, and we'll communicate about how those types of events might happen. I think a great question here. Why can't you combine the information from Schoology and Skyward into just one site? Unfortunately, that is a difficult thing to do, to find a resource that does both an information system and really that management system of learning and where you can put your curriculum. It would be nice, but unfortunately not a simple solution, and definitely a very expensive one. And there's not a lot of them out there. Let's see. Testing sound. Yep. And you know what? That very well might be something that was with my device tonight. Like I said, when I tested it earlier, it was working out well. I apologize for that. What's the difference between A and B days for online students? There is not a difference between A and B days for online students. Online students will need to get online every day. So if I'm an A-day student and it's B day, I'm going to be online just like those full-time online students. So our flex family options will need to be getting on every day. For online students, how do you check in? I think we talked a little bit about that, but get on your Schoology and your email, and your teacher will communicate from day one exactly what that'll look like. I'd anticipate a live session at some point very soon. It might not be right away at 8:45, but they'll let you know how they want to do that. How is band going to work? Only in Q2 for senior high. Yep. So we know it's instead of being an all-year class for something like that band, and really for all classes, now they're broke up into quarters. But you also have a bigger chunk of time to practice and focus and work through whatever it might be. So it's different. It's not ideal. If we were doing a traditional block, it would be done a little bit differently. But we're obviously not in a traditional situation. So they also are going to work to offer some lessons and some other times to get connected with students to fill in those gaps in the quarters that they don't have band or choir or orchestra. There's a question about freshmen signing in. Click personal use or organization use. I think I would recommend if you're logging in that new device to use organization use, and then we can troubleshoot any issues when you come in the building if you can. Are there sports passes this year? At this time, our board determined not to do sports passes, mostly because we don't know what's going to be there for sports, and the number of events that they have scheduled for this fall is significantly less, and unless that changes, really the value that you get when you purchase that bulk sports pass goes away. So at this point in time, we're not doing sports passes. We also know that right now those numbers are limited that can be at those events, and we don't want to sell you a pass and then not be able to allow you into an event. So we want to be very careful with that. All right. Again, I apologize for the audio. I tested it a few different times and it seemed to be working. So maybe I clicked a setting wrong. I hope you were able to get the information. It will be available for you to review. If you have any questions, email me. Give me a call in the office tomorrow. I'll absolutely get back to you. Even if it's not right away, I'll call you in the evening if I have to. But we want to answer any of your questions. Make sure you're comfortable. Again, thanks for your time. I appreciate it. We're excited to get kids back in the building. It hasn't felt right going this long without having students here. And even just seeing some come in and pick up devices was, it felt good, makes you smile. So I hope all of you enjoy this last week before school starts. Enjoy some time this weekend. And A-Day students, we can't wait to see you Monday. B-Day, we'll see you Tuesday. And online kids will connect as well. And go Panthers.